That's what we know, right?
know,
Like,
it's
that's
like-
what's important. It's oats.
Do you think it's an annual or perennial?
Annual?
It's an annual. You notice how I could pull up the whole plant right out of the ground? I'll guarantee you if I tried to pull this bugger out of the ground, I won't even try.
Oh, that's a really good way to know the difference. Because
Yeah.
oats, you can just right now you just pick. Yeah. Wow.
Is that universally true though?
That's
for
cool.
all perennials and annuals? Really? Didn't know that.
Cool.
And the exception would be young seedling perennials when they do not have a well-established root. How deeply do you think perennial grasses' roots can grow?
8, 10 feet.
What?
Really?
I've seen pictures.
Whoa. That's amazing.
Now think about that.
Wow.
To grow something with a root mass that goes down that deep, assuming you had that depth of soil to work with, that takes a lot of energy to build all that root mass. And what do you think keeps the roots alive? Does it? So if right now, as this goes into its summer dormancy, do you think this plant is still using energy to
Barely.
keep its tissues alive?
Barely.
It's using a lot of the energy that it stored. We talked about it storing its energy down at the base of those stems. It uses a tremendous amount of that energy just to keep its tissues alive. And that's why even well-managed perennial grasses typically shed about 15 to 50% of their root mass as they enter the dormant season. And why do they shed that much of their root mass? In order to save energy. Because now it's got to go through dormancy, and if it has to keep that whole giant root mass alive, it's going to cost a lot more energy. Right? So healthy perennial grasses shed anywhere from 15% to 50% of their root mass every year. It varies from species to species. So wow, somebody talked about carbon and sequestration and putting carbon back in the soil again. So what do you think happens when that plant sheds its root mass to all that carbon that built those roots? It just sits there. It's food for the microbes and the worms and anything that can gain energy from that dead root.
So they're grazing it from the bottom up. That's cool.
So is that making sense? But it's a little more interesting than that. It really is more interesting than that. Why? Because, oh, I can't tell you yet.
Oh.